What is it about superheroes that just makes us feel as though we can take over the world? When you think of how unrealistic they are, all of these action poses, I mean, nobody even walks or even behaves like that in real life. And yet, there I was, feeling like Superman. I had just walked in on a conversation between my parents and their guests, and my parents were bragging about me. Yes, our son is going to become a medical doctor. Whew, that really made me feel so good. You see, at the time I was in grade 11, but in grade 10, I received the highest marks for biology in the country. And so every opportunity that my parents got, they would really bump me up and praise me. And so as I walked in to the sitting room with that cup of tea, sorry, with the tray of tea and the cookies, and I put it down there, I wanted these people to see exactly how a doctor in the making walks. And as they drank it, oh my goodness, Michael, this tea is so tasty. In the back of my mind, I was there thinking, yeah, thanks. I'm about to be a doctor one day. What can I say? I was so full of myself. Eventually, the time came for me to go to university, and I went to study at the University of Cape Town. Ooh, beautiful university. Although this time not medicine, but engineering, because I was basically following in my father's footsteps. Everything was going well until I started failing for the first time in my life. So much so that I got kicked out of university 2 years later. And that feeling of shame that I had within me nearly killed me. I knew somewhat of the sacrifices that my parents had to make just to pay for my university fees, and I had messed it up. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to devise a plan. I'm not going to tell anybody anything. When I get back home to Namibia, I just have to survive December, January, because in February I'm going back. I'm going to convince my lecturer to take me back because I am a Christian and there's nothing that's going to prevent me from achieving my goals. Because greater is He that is within me. You know those stories. Delusional. Finally got to Cape Town in February, but not without me having to endure a very difficult December because, and imagine, I'm even standing in my childhood room right now because I'm busy visiting my parents. It was from this room that I used to sneak out at 5 a.m. in the morning, rushing to the post office to go and steal and tear up these letters from UCT. Why couldn't UCT leave me alone? And as I was tearing up those letters, I was even speaking in tongues. No UCT will formed against me shall prosper. But I managed to get back to UCT, and my lecturers all told me the same thing. Michael, there's nothing that we can do to help you. We're really sorry. Whoo. Now I started becoming depressed even further, to the point where I started developing ulcers. The hostel warden of the hostel where I was staying said to me, Michael, you know what? I know that you're going through a difficult time, so you can stay here for another 2 weeks, and then after that, I'm afraid, my son, you need to start making a plan for yourself. And I would lie when I would communicate to my parents. How are things in Cape Town? No, things are fine, things are fine. One Monday afternoon, I got a call from downstairs at the receptionist. And as I heard the intercom go off, doo, Michael, call from Namibia. I took a deep breath because I knew I had to lie. I knew it's my family calling me. Walked down the corridor trying to psych myself. Come on, you can do this, man, you can do this. Got to the phone, picked it up. Hello. And on the other line was my father. And in a trembling voice, he uttered the words, Michael, we know the truth. I wished that the world could just swallow me up. The world, the ground underneath me, just take me away right there. my secret was out. And then my father said, I'm so sorry, son, that you were out there all by yourself having to endure this alone. And I wish that I could have been there with you. And for the first time in my life, I heard my father, a proud African man, crying for the first time as we both shed tears, sobbing on opposite sides of the phone. A week later, the family came, got me. We went back to Namibia, and now my shame began again. Because everywhere where I would go, just to try and unwind and get out, people would recognize me. Auntie, wait a minute, isn't that Michael? Michael, my child, come here. And then as the conversation would go, you would slowly see their expressions turning because something just wasn't right. And I started seeing the mathematics, easy and predictable as usual, running through their minds. As they would begin multiplying their suspicions, subtracting my joy, dividing my confidence with the question that was just adding to their skepticism when they said, but, Michael, aren't you supposed to be at university right now? It was so embarrassing. I never wanted to get out the house. I was becoming depressed. Fortunately, my best friend Richard gave me a book by Miles Monroe called In Pursuit of Purpose. And it was within that book that Miles Monroe spoke about the humble seed. And what he said is that within a seed lies a world of potential, because within a seed lies the ability to form or create a forest. But what does a seed really need in order for itself to grow? It needs sunshine, it needs the soil, and it needs rain. And it was in that point that I started realizing that, in life, most of us, especially me, I never had a problem with the sunshine, the good times. I never had an issue with the environment within which I grew up, because I grew up in a very good home. But when the rain of life started pouring down on me, that's when I started going through trouble. And my thinking started changing, because I realized that rain is an essential part of life. Life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. Maybe you're going through a very difficult time right now. Maybe you've lost your job. You don't know how you're going to put food on the table or even pay the school fees. Or maybe, like me, you've lost a loved one. It's almost 3 months to the day that my sister passed away from COVID. And more than that, she actually passed away whilst she was under my care. I was so devastated when she passed away. Became depressed yet again, and about a month later, I started having dreams about my sister's favorite snack, popcorn. And I used to dream about how the smell of popcorn would fill up the kitchen. And I started asking myself, popcorn is a seed, but what makes popcorn so special? How does it transform from this state into the popcorn that we eat? And I used to think about how my sister would put the pot on the stove, put in the seeds, line it with a thin layer of cooking oil, and gradually turn up the heat and the pressure. And if that popcorn was able to endure that heat and pressure, it would change into something beautiful. And this is why the humble snack that my sister loved so much, popcorn, literally saved my life. And I want to encourage you by saying the following. When life gets tough, when you feel that pressure and that heat building up, don't give up. I beg of you. This is merely part of the transformation process that is transforming you from the hard, inedible popcorn seed into this. So tasty. If we endure the pressures and the heat of life, we too can become popcorn.